Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Alpha Centauri Let's Play. This is Northstar. I hope you folks are well. I am tired, but I am always tired with my long COVID. Let's see here. My might is potent, meaning second greatest of all the factions right now. I have 49 pops to Santiago's 44. By the way, a little easy math. When you capture bases, they lose one pop. Pops take basically a row of nutrients to grow for every size. So to reach size 6, it requires 6 rows, etc. Meaning if I were to capture all Santiago's bases, it would be destroying, at base costs, 440 nutrients worth of population. Less with golden ages, planned economy, democracy, that kind of stuff. Chance gracious. But yeah, it's a major economic setback. And the longer I leave them, the more pops they'll have, the more, essentially people will end up dying in the war. So not good. I don't know if I overinvested in military. Well, I didn't overinvest in military. If I had overestimated Santiago's military, I should note, then all that really means is that it would have been optimal for me to attack earlier and just conquer Santiago. Get all this sweet jungle terrain. Whereas I kind of stalled out at around 40 rovers. In fact, I think I had one or two more, and one more, and I lost one. Because I think I had 41 recon rovers and a scout rover, and now I only have 40 in one. But anyways, yeah, because I did lose one that was surrounded by mine worms before. Surprisingly few have lost. I've lost 8 scout patrols over time. And 1 transport. Cool. Anyways, wasn't there unit types? Land unit 6309. I guess that's adding up the combined defensive power. Naval units 221. Or maybe that's the highest level. No, that's active in production, just lost. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I have 2 naval units, 2 more in production, and I've lost one. Oh yeah, I lost a laser skim ship. It's also automate units. I could do that if I want. People don't automate enough, and yeah, the AI is not great at managing stuff, but you could always do that and play on a lower difficulty if you want, if you don't want to do the micro. Anyways, note on social engineering. I did take a look, did a little napkin math, and if we're running democratic planned, I have 47 food surplus on all my 14 bases. It would be effectively, at that point, like increase my food production 2/3. Since I'm not going to be able to pop boom without the ability to use golden ages to do it. Chance gracious is way too expensive right now. So for my nutrients to grow bases, that's important. I'd lose 28 minerals, but effectively gain With 47, 30, almost 32 nutrients. So it's net gain. And then there being +1 industry rating on top of that. The efficiency effects would cancel each other out. Free market may seem great, and I know people would say free market is meta. I have something like 16 units outside of my borders. 15. Some of them are stat, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There might be a couple more here or there. At least 13. That would be 26 pacifism drones right now. Free market has a crippling peace penalty, and some workers are already producing 2 energy, which is the cap currently. So I'd also get more commerce. So you get around 40 more energy split between labs and econ, which on tech stagnation labs are not nearly as useful as econ points. I would have much, much worse combat against mind worms, and we get 26 pacifism drones, which would more than outweigh the extra energy in terms of lost nutrient and mineral production and some energy production. It would still produce more overall from having to, in some cases, run doctors already. Or I'd have to run psych high enough to some of the psych would just go to waste in bases I don't even need it. And actually have lower net energy production. So in my current situation, free market does not make sense. In fact, I have done it before as well. In fact, I found an old post on that community where I was talking about doing it as well. It does make a certain degree of sense if you are not on a huge continent like this, where there's a lot of land exploration to be done, and if you're not doing a lot of Navy exploration. But I've learned as I've been in this game, naval exploration is incredibly important. I should probably have a lot more units exploring the continents than I both on land and at sea than I already do. Of course, that's because I've been keeping so many units at the border with Santiago. But if she wasn't literally in the monsoon jungle, I would have probably wanted twice as many Navy units and a bunch of scout patrols on other continents. Which is to say that, and recon rovers for that matter, which is to say, free market doesn't make sense early game because exploration, you can get around it with some kind of cheating mechanisms via a punishment sphere, which doesn't come till fairly late in the game. You get it at advanced military algorithms. I thought it was later. Maybe that was did they move back in the expansion? Still, I don't usually prioritize that tech. It's not super useful. It gives you bunkers and punishment spheres and okay. And it does cost you lab points and it's a whole bunch of minerals to build. So you either have to get clean reactors, basically, put all your units on support from a base with punishment sphere and just ignore drones, which is some people consider an exploit. But prisons under a capitalist society, I mean, that's literally the US, where we have more people in prison than any other country on Earth, and then a large fraction of the world combined. In fact, I think if you remove the number 2 country, I think the US has more prisoners than every other country on Earth combined. It's insane. I think you don't even have to move number 2. I think you move the 4th biggest country or something. Or 3rd. You can even keep number 2 in if you remove number 3 or 4. It's an absolutely atrocious rate of imprisonment. So I can totally buy that as being a valid thing of just basically throwing anyone who protests in jail, and then prison labor, which is maybe all occurring right at the base of the punishment sphere, even though they're being arrested elsewhere. The other alternative is a specialist doli base that doesn't care about drones, can't have any, fed by supply cars later, although very early you can literally just have a size 1 base that has a doctor and nothing else. Of course, how are you going to have enough minerals at that base? Then becomes the question. You need clean reactors at that point. Why not just supply car to that base and have some actual useful specialists, but some nutrients there. But anyways, for specialists, free market has huge issues with people rightly considering all the military stuff to not be in their own best interests if it's more aggressive, but citizens rendered suddenly poor actions and scrupulous moguls may revolt against the energy fan masters. Okay, that's one way to describe police, but police rating, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. A more, shall I say it, cynical but probably accurate description may be that the business moguls want trade routes, want exploration, but they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for exploratory expeditions. They don't mind military units being stationed at home to protect their business assets and keep the drones down. But anyways, so yeah, simple politics and frontier economics are still the best choice for me, but planned democratic will become useful earlier than I thought, just because the sheer amount increases nutrient production. I'll just maybe not want to run it this very second, because it would crush what mineral production isn't going into support already, and that would hurt my diverting some production to farmers. I wouldn't really have the room in my budget for that, while still getting the probe teams need for Sparta. And that I wouldn't have the tiles for all the extra pops to work eventually. I wouldn't be able to keep up with that, nevertheless founding new colonies. But yeah, simple frontier works for now. Running fundamentalist slightly hurts me, but if it keeps Miriam happy, I suppose I could do it eventually. It does help. Not with existing units. I think, by the way, I'm gonna... Okay, that's good. I was gonna say that it didn't make sense to have this guy here defend against ram mine worms, but what he can do is try and move here. Sometimes he'll bounce, and then at least he'll be in a rocky tile. When he succeeds, he's just there and he moves back. And sometimes he finds a mine worm, like he just did. And then I can try and attack it for planet pearls. If it wins, I do have a rover here that can finish it off after, well, next turn. Still got the drop on it. I was also reading up on promotions. Apparently the harder a fight, the more likely unit will get a promotion if they win. Being damaged, start a fight makes promotion more likely if you win. The enemy being damaged makes it less. So it's the real, combat odds. It's not just like the base weapons or something. Or rather, a strength ratio, which isn't quite the same as odds. Yeah, the rocky tile, though, does give defensive bonus against mine worms, so if the scout patrol were attacked before it could move back and heal, yeah, it's a good place to hunt mine worms from, is the point. Um, uh, could do Chone's Gracious at places, but doesn't really make sense. Especially, let's see, it would save me 17 nutrient rows at World Health Organization, which if I briefly swapped into democratic and planned, or even just planned for a tiny bit. Since that's actually democratic plus planned, now it gives a bigger growth bonus, but it's actually cheaper to maintain than just planned. Because of the synergy between the two, partly with cancel out the efficiency effects. So World Health Organization here would save 17 times 6, so 102 nutrients for a base facility that costs 50 minerals. It's not bad. That is to pop boom it up to size 9. And it would actually just barely be able to do that without drone rights, because we gain another talent. Or rather, because the way it actually it would be another talent at the beginning, but because the secret project would actually be the Human Genome Project would, oh no, the facilities applies first. Fine. So yeah, it would end up with 4 talents, 1 worker, 4 drones. So just barely stable at size 9 because it has the right commons. And because of the free talents, I'd have 3 free talents for being Peacekeepers. It would become unstable the moment I get a bureaucracy drone, though. So I'd probably want a police unit around just to provide a buffer, or at least a unit nearby could step in and provide police if necessary. Anyways, 102 nutrients. I consider nutrients a little more valuable than minerals. So, I don't know, 42 nutrients or a little more would go to pay back the initial cost, essentially, of the Chone's Crash. This base doesn't have any inefficiency, so there'd be an ongoing maintenance cost. I suppose I could sell the Crash back afterwards if I really wanted. I'd probably just keep it because it'd be more expensive to replace later when I want it again. But I'm sure I'd use it in the next 100 years or so with reinvestment of energy and sale price, which I think you get 50 back. All right, maybe more like the next 40 years. I'm sure I'd use it before. It'd be cheaper to have sold it. Unless I was really in a desperate situation with Sparta, then I'd want to sell it probably. But yeah, even if that's a net of whatever 60 nutrients are worth, there is a 81 energy credit cost to switch into democracy plan that would allow booming with the crash, and an 81 credit cost to switch back out. So unless I was ready to stay there under those two, which again I said not with the mineral situation, that'd be 162 credits. It's like 81 minerals for 60 nutrients. That's not quite profitable, and with ongoing maintenance costs, which does mean that the units that train would have 1 extra morale bonus. So it's like another command center, half a command center, cost of a command center, but and costs the same upkeep, but only provides half the benefit for new units. So slightly worth it. Slightly. But not a good investment for all that energy. There's things I can invest that have much higher yields. It would probably be a slight loss at this point with the upheaval costs is the point, and unless the morale benefits made it worth it. I don't know how to exactly weight that. Now Now, if there were multiple bases I was going to boom, or if I was going to boom UN headquarters, which I could do, I suppose, but there's not enough tiles ready for the base to work. I only see 3 forests and, well, 2 rolling rainy tiles. I suppose it could work, the forests. Would I start to have eco damage at that point? Yeah, I would. Well, not much though. Headquarters would get a lot more mileage out of a pop boom. The problem with that is it would soak almost all my energy to build 2 children's creches and boom both bases, which would make doing this worth it. But that would leave me almost no energy in reserve, and I know probe actions cost energy. And I'm going to want to upgrade units, and I'm going to go war Sparta. So this is the hybrid playstyle. You make sacrifices to economic growth to not get conquered or take advantage of an enemy if you think you get an opportunity. Unlike momentum, where you just absolutely base your whole playstyle on you must conquer your neighbors, and if you fail, you're screwed. I've shifted more and more towards hybrid playstyles like this. Did I save after that Mine War combat? I'm not sure. Let's contact Zarkov, though. I've been putting it off. I think I can view his faction profile before I do. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Mood obstinate. Okay, so he doesn't like me. Personality erratic. Really? He's got the same erratic personality as... And he's quarrelsome with the believers. Let's see. Faction profile. Personality, aggressive. Personality, pacifist. Yeah, Santiago is erratic. So Zarkov is just as aggressive as Santiago. He tends to build more, but if he does have a military advantage on you, he's just as likely to attack you. A lot of people plays him, or they run knowledge, so he likes them. He's easier to make happy, and he's less likely to have a military advantage on you, but if he's pissed at you and he's got a stronger military, he'll definitely invade. Yeah, he's at war with the believers. That's good to know. And this is just the automatic truce you start with. Let's read this for you guys, in case the text is too small. Maybe you're viewing this on your phone on YouTube. By the way, his might is wanting. So not terribly powerful military. It's unsurprising. The Gaians and the Hive are doing much better. They probably have a excuse me. Got Centauri ecology much, or I mean, Gaians start with it. Whereas for whatever reason, these 3 factions, none of them gave Centauri ecology to Morganites and the believers, and flexibility to the believers and ethical calculus to the Morganites. I mean, the net flow of energy was to the believers beyond that. And I think Morgan gave me a little money. I have to remember, but yeah, those factions are really behind, so I strengthened them both a little. I'll find up the island. I assume Miriam will win that war eventually. She's fighting with Morgan, but she's also fighting this guy. Anyways, well met, Commissioner Law. I'm now called academician Zakharov, and act as the voice of the unity, whose intent is to pursue pure research unfettered, as the voice of the university. I'm thinking about he was the uni science officer. Whose intent is to pursue pure research unfettered by outside motives and meddling. I see you and your minions have flourished on this unforgiving world. Pure research. I met these sort of people when I was in university myself. Not obviously game university, but as in college and grad school. They think that there's no importance for knowledge to have a practical purpose to help people. And I mean, knowledge for knowledge's sake is like art for art's sake kind of stuff, but worse. It's not that it's not valuable, but research is incredibly expensive, and there is a moral obligation to do things like cure diseases. And this isn't me saying it just because I'm disabled long COVID and suffering horribly from this disease, and suffering far worse from not just the disease, but from the way society treats people who are disabled and unable to work in the United States, which is becoming a capitalist hellhole more and more. It's not just my saying it because that I actually went into biology in the first place, planning on curing diseases, but even before I decided I wanted to be a physician. Identify with Law in some ways because he was a physician. As was his wife Priya, by the way, who was on the uni and got shot, and that's you'll see references to that later. Many people don't read the backstories; they make like speculative guesses as to what certain quotes are about. No, it's very well defined. Law, who is a ship surgeon, brought his wife, who is a fairly mediocre primary care physician or something, apparently. But he used his political weight in the UN to get his wife aboard because he loved her so much, and he refused to be the ship surgeon without her. And he was talented enough; they were willing to do that, even though. Also, a note on research in this game before I read further: it's ludicrous how fast science occurs in this game if you don't have text stagnation on. A small group of, I don't know, some people say 1,000 people per colony pod, maybe 10,000. So 7 or 70,000 people can, within a few decades, if you don't have text stagnation on, be discovering stuff that is, from a text standpoint, that's not dissimilar our own, that's probably centuries ahead of us on Earth, which is absolute bullshit unless you're like some neo-Nazi, if you have a pure group of the most talented people. No, that's crap. The research efforts of billions of people. I mean, not everyone's a researcher, but neither is everyone in this planet, is not going to be exceeded by probably less than 1 million people within a couple decades. It's ridiculous. That's why I play with text stagnation, and it slows down the game to some degree. When I play like Civ 4, I play on Epic or Marathon, although they freaking make units take longer to train, population sort of grow on that, which is nonsense because then it's not really a slower game speed if you're just hitting end turn more often. The only real effect of it then becomes that you can explore further per era. You can explore more land and fight wars, sort of, but since military units don't train faster, it's kind of nonsense. Anyways, have you heard from Morgan recently? I've not been able to locate him or his Morganic faction since the time of Planetfall, and wanted to continue some of our earlier conversations. If you have his comm frequency, I could offer 50 energy credits for your trouble. Okay. Sorry, it's like 3 minutes in. I don't know. I'm really tired today of having some GI issues with my long COVID, so I'll tell you about that. But just, I mean, discomfort is the main thing, and makes it even harder for me to focus when this is happening. It seems like Anyways, 50 energy credits to put him in contact with Morgan. I mean, sure, it's money. It's not like you can just get money for free from the AI. I have to offer him something. And they might tech trade with each other. I don't mind Morgan getting stronger. A little bit in tech. I mean, Miriam will still conquer him either way, probably, because she's got a 3-to-1 advantage in bases, and bigger than that, even still, probably in industrial capacity and such, because so can't like what territory she has. Morgan's got a pretty marginal bit of land, 2 bases really close to each other, whereas Miriam's are more spread out and have more resources, like mineral resources. Anyways, that raised him from obstinate to ambivalent. I believe your data on ethical calculus could have important implications for my research. Yeah, so you can freaking weigh the calculations to show you that you should freaking do experiments with nerve gas on innocent civilians, jackass. I'm not even exaggerating. There have been fan fictions about him doing stuff like that, but if I remember correctly, in the backstory or the books, he does stuff that's not terribly far from that. In the books, he does stuff with unethical experiments on the human brain. And I remember one of the backstories, he's involved in the attempted repairs on the Unity's engine compartment, and the way he does it is with no concern for worker safety. Yeah. One could argue the whole ship was in danger, but actually they went just fine with the colony pods. It was really just the comfort, and I don't know. You could say that everything was, maybe the survival of the human race was in danger and it was worth it, but he shows from a very early point a complete lack of ethics. So I'm not sure I trust him to do ethical calculus correctly. And since he's probably turtling, I'm not sure I want him to have democracy, which is good for if you're not at all doing any kind of military buildup of significance. Propose you exchange. I propose that you exchange this knowledge from my own files on nonlinear mathematics. I can almost certainly steal that from the Spartans. I know that Santiago has that, and I'm planning on you can offer him a different tech, or you can ask for a different tech. I don't know for sure if Santiago has a higher energy chemistry. It would allow me to train plasma steel units. I'm not sure I want to, though. Offense is the best defense. And let's take a quick look at what higher energy chemistry leads to. Synthetic fossil fuels. Oh, this is a big one. And only requires gene splicing. Advanced subatomic theory. I do not have all this stuff memorized. This gives comm jammers and the skunk works, which actually doesn't really pay for itself usually, unless definitely not with text stagnation. Or protapes are few and far between ish. Can be useful sometimes if you have a huge tech lead to get stuff out quickly, and I definitely don't want to be using nerve gas. I'm not sure I have need of plasma steel armor. Synthetic fossil fuels are huge, though. You can build missile launcher infantry, and they still only cost 2 rows. Not only is that very powerful resulting bases, if you stick a heavy artillery module on it, cost defense plus speed -2. So it's free on a rover with no armor, or an infantry with up to synth metal armor. Which is to say, I could Although rovers, you won't be able to get 2-row, but if the synth metal's free, it could be a 6-2 heavy artillery piece, still only 2 rows cost. If it's not, 6-1. That's artillery that can actually do some really substantial damage to bases and units in the field. So I don't much care for the plasma steel, but I do want the synthetic fossil fuels. I have no interest in non-linear mathematics because I can almost certainly steal that. And I don't want to give him industrial economics. That's actually more useful in ethical calculus to him. It'll let him do energy banks and then run even higher lab rate. The AI is not really know how to do pop booming very well. They can almost do it by accident if you're on Transcend because they get +3 to growth. Well, plus even on Thinker they can almost, if it's not a faction with the growth penalty like the Gaians. So University, if they happen to run Democratic Planned and have a +2, or they get some Golden Ages and they're... If it was one higher difficulty, they'd actually probably pop boom just by accident in the Alien Crossfire expansion. But here, give me a second more. Yeah, think about this for a sec. Stealing text isn't free. Even if I can do it without risking being caught once per Spartan base, and they have at least 3 bases, costs energy. If I do a tech trade, these techs are like 600 each or something with tech extendation at this point, and they're only growing in cost. I think it was like 600. I have to double check, but the costs, they're getting up there. It's definitely in 3 digits. This will give me an advantage. It'll make the university a bigger problem to deal with later.
At atrociously high energy states, the properties of matter change subtly and new miracles become possible. The plasma accretion process is now dangerous and difficult to control, but its products will soon become commonplace in our society. Sister Miriam Godwinson, The Lord Works.
I guess this wasn't the one that comes from a probe team. I believe a probe team. The description doesn't say anything about that. That was a different one. Yeah. Plasma accretion process. Plasma steel armor. I suppose theoretically, from gameplay standpoint, it talks about mindworms being unable to eat through this, so there's some roleplay benefit. Again, though, the real thing is I want is if it is synthetic fossil fuels, and also I know Miriam's not the crazy anti-science person you might think, and this quote is just one little indication of that. People do her dirty because a lot of people play this game have negative experiences with right-wing evangelical Christians in their own lives. I reiterate, not all Christians are right-wing, not all evangelicals are hyper-capitalist, racist pigs, like a lot of the ones in the US are. I have a lot of sympathy for like the liberation theologians down in Latin America. Very little for most U.S. evangelicals, but they're, Sinclair Lewis once said the worst recommendation for Christianity is your ordinary, not ordinary. Worst recommendation for Christianity is Christians, or was it? I think it was the quote slightly different than that, but that's basically the gist of it. There's a lot of terrible people call themselves Christians, and if they ever met Jesus, Jesus would slap them across the face, which violence was not beyond him. He did drive the money lenders out of the temple with a whip and overturn tables. It's a quote. I remember someone joked about this on Reddit or something, but a long time ago. But when asked what would Jesus do, never forget that overturning tables and chasing bankers out of a room with a whip is not out of the question. Something like that. Um, breakthrough breakthroughs in applied physics and industrial base lead to an understanding of high energy chemistry. This discipline seeks to understand the properties and behavior of matter at very high temperatures. This is something we're working on in our own world. It's being perfected. I mean, plasma steel might be sci-fi bullshit, but a better understanding of high energy chemistry is definitely something that's being researched. And results in new types of materials that remain in a stable plasma state even when superheated by intense laser stimulation. Of course, the whole sci-fi laser stuff is nonsense, but it's at least an area, a direction of research. It's not unrealistic. I believe your data on industrial economics could have important implications for my research. I propose to exchange this knowledge from files on nonlinear mathematics. Interested? No. That upset him. Turned him non-committal. I must caution you that my engineers complete an advanced impact rover to prototype. The first units are entering service now. Running my force is practically invincible. Yeah, I've always noticed Zarkov, he proposes a lot of tech trades, and I think he might receive a bigger opinion malice for saying no to them than most. But I'm going to steal nonlinear mathematics off the Spartans. I don't know how many other techs they have available to steal, so I'm reluctant to give the university too many techs because then they'll be without any major military threats. I mean, they're at war with the believers, but the university has been sailing the seas a lot longer and has probably a much bigger navy. Or at least not much bigger, but at least a couple more naval units. And I highly doubt the believers are going to finish him off. They have much worse intercontinental warfare than within the same landmass. And he'll probably steal some secret projects that maybe I could get after I deal with Sparta if he's not too far ahead. Never know. I would have to sim the game out hundreds of turns to know for sure exactly. Well, not hundreds, but dozens of turns to see everything that would happen after that. But your faction is indeed a mighty one, Commissioner Law. But my forces are yet strong, and I shall not allow you to plunder the wealth of this planet without cutting me in for a share. My price is your data on industrial economics. So now he tries to threaten me for the tech. Your faction is no longer significant at commission, Zarkov. We are peaceful researchers, Commissioner Law. You say that after you just threatened me. And I know your personality is erratic and you're completely unethical. Will you sign a treaty of friendship and leave us to study in peace? I don't trust his unethical approach to research. It's true. But this benefits me. It's not just the possible commerce, which I might not do it for that. It's that it makes peace slightly more durable with the university. So I have a little less to worry about with him declaring war on me unexpectedly. A little. The AI will still often not care that much. But it does create a slightly higher barrier to it. Of course, we must certainly strive to increase their knowledge. Splendid. My research and your humanitarian initiatives complement one another nicely. The university and the Peacekeepers have much to gain from this friendship. We shall commence trade and commence commerce at once. Be warned that I should not long tolerate collaboration with mortal enemy, the fanatic Sister Miriam. Yeah, now he was reminded that pack mates with his enemy and he just went down obstinate. Didn't proc that earlier. Probably should have done it the moment we met, but have you any further business? I have a proposal. He'll definitely not swear a pat to brotherhood. Let's see if he has Commlinks since he's been on the... He might not offer it, but I'll see if he does. He says he doesn't have the Commlink frequencies of the Gaians. What about the Hive? Nope. My apologies, but I simply have an all day to talk. Zakharov out. Yep. Yippity yippers. Wait a second, why do I have 523 energy now? Today? Oh, wait. I didn't sell a tech to the university, I just did a direct tech trade. I wasn't watching my energy that much. Anyways, I'm cool with one tech trade, but I'm not doing two with them. And now it's proposing a prototype. Plasma steel hoverboats cost the same as the ones with synth metal. Plasma hoverboats. Interesting. If I actually design it myself, it'll sometimes have a different name. Sometimes. Not cost effective. I figured as much. Plasma sentinels cost the same as synth metal, so potentially useful to defend a base against laser units, anyways. Not going to do that, though. There's only really one useful thing, and that's slightly better ships. Ones that'll perform better if they're attacked by enemy ships. Not in long-range fire, which is just weapon-to-weapon, but direct attacks. So, yeah. I thought I hit apply, hit click it hard enough. Wait, Frontier probe teams. That's not the name. Plasma. Hoverboat. I mean, I'll use the default name. Sometimes it unretires things I've retired when I do this, though. I see anything weird? When did I design a sea colony pod? Oh, that's not a MAC thing, isn't it? Transports APCs, laser foils, skirmishers, recon rovers. Laser squads. Oh yeah. Should double check. No, it adds mineral row to give it plasma steel armor. Figures, but good to know. Even it's not even cost effective if I want armor formers to just use plasma instead of steel, instead of synth metal. Okay, so the only thing I would use it for is ships. Very marginal improvement to my navy. do it defense command after the current probe team. Yeah, I was looking up stuff on morale, and units always gain a morale level, supposedly, when they win a fight at green or very green. So the ship's being trained at green in the long run, not a huge problem, but they're, of course, still more likely to die. I'm less thinking about ship-to-ship combat and needing more elite units to deal with Sparta. I'm sure the Spartans aren't building a huge navy. Probably more focused on land units, and more concerned with getting sunk by random miles of the deep, which, yeah, and I don't have any sea monoliths around, so with land units, it can be worth the fight a little before you upgrade with monolith, because upgrades become harder with each level to get the next combat upgrade. Like, maybe I should have taken the recon rovers that were green, had them fight to discipline, and then turned them hardened with monoliths in some cases, but I also know the Spartans wouldn't jump me immediately. Having disciplined units was helpful in case of war with Sparta. Anyways, point being, while it's less worthwhile to prototype land units, the extra morale level, unless I did it World Health Organization, use it to train veteran units straight out and then get them to commando with a monolith. Or tried to get them to commando with a fight, and then with a bunch of fights, and then elite with monolith, maybe. That'd be a lot of mind-worm fights, though. They'd probably lose the unit first. With my navy, anyways, having some ships that come in disciplined, it's probably worthwhile. If the main threat to my ships is the native wildlife and not the Spartans, unlike my land units. Since I'm mostly exploring my ships, I may have one foil that messes with Sparta, maybe. Probably the one with the plasma steel armor. To be fair, because if they do have a ship, the AI is more likely to try and just jump me than do long range fire. Although I've seen them do long range fire sometimes. They like to do it on improvements, but I think they prefer decisive battle than putzing around with artillery duels. I don't remember that being all or nothing. Of course, I've never really seen it used ship to ship. It's mostly used against bases. I don't know. Let's do a quick check for things that could rush reasonably.
Request confirmation.
Looks like it's just this. Currently, let's see. I'm going to have 2 minerals overflow currently. I could buy 8 minerals. The math on that is a little messy. Is it? No, actually, it's just invest 20 energy. Since the last one is 2 for sure. Cool. Maximum overflow in the probe team. Wonder if maybe I shouldn't do 1 unit plasma sentinels. World Health Organization actually try and get a commando tier defensive unit. With a lot of morale upgrades and the infantry bonus, they might do okay against an impact rover or something. Although offense is best, I can't completely. Nah, I'm gonna be fighting. I'm not gonna defend the base. I'm gonna be fighting the Spartans in the field mostly. No, but they will counterattack here and there. Shoot. Yeah, alright. I don't like heavily armored units. I do not. But this does only cost 2 rows. Prototype cost. Yeah, okay. Figured. And then back to probe teams. This will take advantage of the command center, the plasma sentinels, and yeah. The reason I want my most, elite unit to be one of my most elite units to be that is from defending base. Wow, how would I say this? The improving the strength of units is most important with when they're at disadvantage to try and reduce that disadvantage. Each point, I guess, each amount of fractional strength you're gaining on a unit is you get diminishing returns. The closer you are to even in power, and then the more you're pulling ahead. For instance, to double your odds of victory from when you already have 3 times the power of an enemy to get, and therefore 75% chance of winning, at least according to the predictive. It's actually better than that. But to get double your strength ratio again, you would have to, you would have to double, and not double, to get, shoot, you have to add 3 points of strength anyways to double it again. Whereas, say, if you have 2 units that are both equal 3 strength, you can increase the relative strength by 1/3 with 1 more. Anyways, the point is, without going too much into it, the math works. When you're fighting a disadvantage, you really want to try and close that disadvantage. And if I had 1 infantry and border agency for if I get pushed back, or more likely out in the field defending a stack of rovers that just attacked. Impact weaponry is stronger. The units already need to be at disadvantage. If I have a morale advantage over the Spartans, because they don't necessarily have command centers everywhere, and this is a prototype unit, and they don't always visit a monolith right away, so they produce hardened units, but I would get a veteran that become a commando, so I have 2 morale levels over them. That would give an effective 20% extra strength. It's 25%, but they already have plus 25 at, oh no, so, well, no, it's a little more than that. I was thinking veteran to elite. No, but yeah, it goes from 12.5 to plus 37.5% strength. And yes, it adds 2/5 to the relatively. It's 12, it's 2/8. No. 9. 2/9. Yeah, okay. It adds effectively 2/9 to the strength of the unit, which was fighting at a 3 to 4 disadvantage, and now would be fighting at a still not quite even odds, but closer. So anyhow, the unit's cheaper produced than an impact rover. I mean, the prototype isn't, but had to prototype that unit somewhere. It's one extra row to prototype plasma weaponry wherever I do it. Yeah, and this will make it cheaper to get this foil at our hoverboat defense command, which has weak production. Numbers is probably a little more important than quality at sea. There's a lot of sea to explore. Anyways, yeah. I'll use transports to try and pull units back so they can't be counterattacked at times. But if I'm, say, having rovers move from 2 tiles away attacking a base, the transports were presumably also 2 tiles away. I won't let them pull back. The only place they can really use the transports really effectively to get units back is near parade ground along the river, where I might, well, you only need here, so I might have a unit stacked here. Have a transport spend 2/3 of the movement to go here, pull back units from here to this tile. Slightly reduce collateral damage. It's most useful offensively to get infantry to a base without the possibility of them being counterattacked while they march up. Impact infantry and eventually missile infantry, because they're much, especially at the missile rank, they're much cheaper than rovers, and they have a combat bonus attacking bases. Anyways, I could wait into a hypnotic trance plasma steel unit, though. There's no hurry on... Shoot. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6 more turns. Yeah, okay. That'd be around 9 to completion. This would start on this, but the cost would come down before it completes. The first prototype would actually be at world health. Okay, that's what I want. So yeah, a few more probe teams before I actually start in the Sentinels, because I'll probably revamp the design with hypnotic trance if it does increase the mineral cost. Might as well have the unit a little more capable of defending against mine worms. Alright, well, all good, more or less. Let's go. Let's see what happens with these mind worms. Withdrew. Figured it would. And yeah, the mind worm got damaged, which will at least make it easier to defeat. I have an urgent message from Colonel Santiago of the Spartans, switching to main view screen. That's because I have unit in our territory. I got interrupted before with the whole Zarkov, or no, not Zarkov, Miriam coming across my ship on her turn. That actually interrupted this because, I don't know, the game treats all the AIs as one turn or something. I'm not sure why. Hello again, Commissioner Wall. Your whining followers remain a force to be reckoned with. Greetings from Colonel Santiago of the Spartans. Your forces near Fort Superiority, really close, I could attack next turn if I want, are in violation of our treaty of friendship. I demand you withdraw them at once. I can tell her my forces Charmaine, but if that starts a war, it hurts my integrity. That treaty is rubbish. My forces Charmaine. Oh, if you likewise withdraw from my territory. Could upset her.
Production complete.
Not quite ready for that war yet. Have all these probe teams. I might as well get the intel on Sparta. Maybe I should have struck earlier, but at this point I'm right on the cusp of actually knowing where their units are. So I shall proceed.
Production complete.
To cautiously explore Spartan's territory with military units where I can, and to hunt mind worms, and to get my probes in, my probe teams, to find out where their units are. I'm pretty sure they can see what's in a base, like at least the garrison, even if they can't pull up the base screen without infiltrating, which I might want to infiltrate them anyway to know their production and tech and stuff. Plant, I don't know exactly how it works in this game versus other Civ games where I've done spy stuff. Planetary Trust builds formers. And now they're doing a probe team. Standard one, because their distance. There's no way a slow one would get to Sparta in time to be useful. Can't even start producing this though until the base grows again. At which point it'll probably work a force and I'll have 2 minerals. I may rush after I do 2 rows, so it's like 24 turns, 25 before this will be done. Yeah. Might even want to swap to something else, like a base facility. Yeah, they are going to lose their golden age if they don't have another facility. This isn't going to be done. 25 turns is too long. A useful time. Let's start on our red commons. They'll get +1 energy from the forest, which means they'll have a con point. I lose that econ point if I lost the golden age. So the red commons essentially pays for itself. in energy. And it's a long-term investment for when I eventually go free market and have to deal with pacifism drones from scouts, or even just the base getting bigger.
Golden Age begun.
Mostly I can't build any more units there because of they're being out of minerals. I suppose I could do one more former for when they grow. Civil rights has a golden age again. A golden age of civil rights.
Production complete.
Hardened probe team. Out of curiosity. +2 morale. Gives +1 morale, +2 on defense. This says 2 morale upgrades. I bet what's happening is it acts like +2 morale for probe team production. No, I'm missing it because this is hardened. It's this one that's disciplined for some odd reason. Oh, I don't know. Disengaged unit. Formers. Golden Age. Probe team. Anyways, if I can maintain the golden age at size 4, they'll reach size 5 a little quicker. Which gives another talent. Three talents, 2 workers. With the children's crèche, I could boom this all the way to size 9 reasonably easily. I'd probably need some psych spending, though, or police unit, actually. Which I don't have intellectual integrity yet for that. Anyhow, it's probably been a long time till I even get this done. Shoot. I have to spend 60 energy on it. 3 rows. And it's just a couple mine worms. I'll still keep 500 in reserve. Alright. Well. This former's already at full health. Probably because it came in on a transport. That's right. So it already had full movement. My worm's only damaged 20%. It must have healed somehow after attacking. Fungus is giving it a defensive bonus. The mine worm. Managed to damage it anyways. Cool. Make a fight a little easier, a little less likely you lose a unit. Rather have more easier fights than against mine worms and lose. Well, fewer units, I suppose. 2 mine worms at half health would give about the same promotion chance as one at full, but I'd have a lot less than half the odds of losing a unit. Alright then. That's enough for now. I wish you folks the best. Sorry things are going so slowly. I'll have to get to another video soon, but we're already at 75 minutes here. At least I have my diplomacy sort of sorted out for now. Eventually Morgan will demand to go to free market enough times. I'll tell him no each that he'll break the pact, or that he'll demand that I declare war on Miriam, which I'll also tell him no to. So that pact's not lasting either way is the point. Try and keep good relations with Miriam, because eventually she'll crush Morgan and be able to muster a decent navy against Sparta if I still haven't gone to war with Sparta by that point. It should be useful against the university. And less of a threat long term because of her slow tech rate, which will eventually catch up with her. Very early industry is way more important than tech anyhow. But the AI never booms enough to keep up in tech through sheer force of will. So it becomes a problem with Miriam eventually. Unless she can manage to probe team people, which who's going to probe team if Morgan's conquered, University is conquered, and I defend all my bases with probes, and Sparta's conquered. I guess the Hive or Gaians, but I don't even know where they are. They're probably on this big continent here. Alright, well, I wish you all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. May always find guidance to lead you home. See you guys in the next video, whenever that is. Adieu.